Marilyn Hemingway, and welcome to A Gathering Place. I said, I'm stepping back because we have young voices who want to be heard and they're moving on something.
Branding is really important to you and your business.
Even the basic type of technology, you learn it all.
And people are
Good question. Good afternoon and welcome to A Gathering Place hosted by the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. And today we have special guests from the historic Phillips community in Charleston County because the historic Phillips community, they're facing a massive challenge. But what I wanted to do is bring on the Phillips Community Association and meet the members of that community, the longtime residents, and find out what that challenge is and how we can help them attain their goal regarding that challenge. And you will hear this in their own words. So let's get to it as I introduce our special guest. And our first guest is Mr. Richard Habersham, president of the Phillips Community Association. Hello, Richard. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we introduce our next guest.
Okay, my name is Richard Habersham. I'm a fourth generation of the Phillips community. My great-grandfather was one of the original residents who bought property from the Phillips plantation. Lived here all my life, went away for a few years while I was in the military, came back. I lived in Charleston about 2 years, but the love of Phillips brought me back home.
Very good.
Yes. Yeah, my mom, my father, my brothers, and they still live in the community. We still own the property out with my great-grandfather bought. And this is where my kids grew up here when they were small, and now my grandkids enjoying the area.
Oh, very good. And your story is so often we hear that story that so many of us go off. We get educated or we build careers and then we come back home because we love so much our communities, our Gullah Geechee connections to the community and all the traditions that are involved with that community. And I am so looking forward to learning more about the Phillips community and why it's so important to the Gullah Geechee community in general and also to the Charleston County area and the state of South Carolina. Richard, I know you have someone right next to you. Why don't we start with Jonathan? If you can introduce Jonathan.
And Jonathan, he's a member of the Phillips community and been here a while too.
Yeah, I'm Jonathan Ford. I'm a fourth generation of the Phillips community. I was active duty Army. I retired from the Army Reserve, and I worked with Xerox for 32 years. I've been away from home a little bit, but like Richard said, we came back home because that's where everybody wanted to be. And we always looked at here as home, not property to where it had any value or anything, but it was always a place where you could come back to.
Very good. I totally understand. I came back home to my home, Georgetown, also left and came back for the love of my hometown. And of course, because family is here. Richard, we also have some other guests that you've invited to join us. And why don't we start with Reverend and Mrs. Elijah Smalls. I'm going to bring them in, and why don't you introduce them?
Yes, here we have Reverend Elijah Smalls, which is the vice president of our organization, and Mrs. Smalls.
Hi, Reverend and Mrs. Smalls. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Hi, how are you?
Oh, doing wonderful. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Well, I'm also a born and reared right here in Phillips community, with the exception of going away in the military and then going away again for school. After school, 5 years after graduating from college, I came back home. And I've been there ever since. Well,
very
like
good.
Was mentioned, this is home. This is where.
Yes, it is.
Hey, born and reared, not in the hospital, but right here on Phillips.
All right, all right. And my grandmother also was not born in the hospital. She was born at home, and that's actually such a common story in our community. So it is. I look forward to hearing more about your story and what you offer. Would Mrs. Smalls like to share? Is she from the Phillips community also? Did you come back and marry a hometown girl?
I'm married into the Phillips community. I'm from West Ashley.
Okay.
And we have been married for 51 years, and we have lived most of that 51 years in Mount Pleasant.
All right.
I'm very active with the Phillips community as well, and I like to see our heritage be retained.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Mrs. Smalls. And West Ashley's close enough. And now we have Richard, if you can introduce.
Yes, we have Mrs. Hilda Rouse, and incidentally, she's a cousin of mine, and she's a family of Elijah Smalls. So you see how we interconnected. We're all family here. So Hilda,
Yep. Hi, Miss Hilda. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. And I'm
Thank
also
you.
a resident of Phillip and was born and raised here, have my great-grandparents, grandparents, children, all that was raised here in Phillip. And I'm also a part of the fundraiser for the Phillip community.
Very good, very good. And thank you, Miss Hilda, for joining us also. I'm looking forward to hearing your personal stories regarding the Phillips community and also just the story about the community itself. So, Richard, I'm going to kind of let you lead this. I'm going to kind of lead you and then let you lead everybody else. But tell me, you kind of hinted about it a little bit also. You said there was a Phillips plantation. Tell us, how did the Phillips community come about?
Okay, it started with the Fenwick, Sarah and Robert Fenwick they got a land grant in the 1600s, and they established the Phillips plantation. And from there, it moved from the Fenwicks to the Hecks, which Mrs. Hecks was the Fenwick's niece. But during that time, female couldn't own property, so everything converted to the husband. And from there, it converted to the hallback, not to the hallback, to the oh Lord, what's the name of the people?
Fenwick.
John
Rutledge?
Yeah, excuse me. I'm sorry. I went blank. To John, John Rutledge. Yeah, well, the Sarah Hex Rutledge. That's who he went to. But and after that, John Rutledge, which was the son, sold the property to the Hallbacks. And after the death of the two brothers who bought the property, Elizabeth Hallback sold the property to our ancestors.
Okay.
And my and when it sold it. The least amount of property was sold is 8.5 acres, and the greatest amount was 35 acres, which Reverend Smalls and Hilda, their great grandparents, had the most property on the Phillips plantation. And today, each one of these families, the starting family, we still own the property. And right now we own about 90% of the property that was first deeded to the freely slaves.
Very good. So what I understand from what I've read is many of the people who owned the land were business owners. They were farmers. So these were people who took the land and really were doing something with it. So Reverend Smalls, what do you remember regarding the land? The land, first, is the land still in the family? I want to make sure I'm clear about that.
Yes.
And what's your family history? Yes.
My history goes back. I'm the oldest grandson of Edward Smalls. I'm also a fourth generation here. Scipio Smalls was my great-great-granddaddy. Edward Smalls was my granddaddy. But anyway, everybody farmed out here. And
okay.
With me being the oldest grandson, I plowed the land, the stuff that my granddaddy would put in the ground. He's been doing it before I came. But I guess I was around 12 when I started working in the fields with him.
And that's what we hear so often, that our parents and our grandparents started us out young, and we learned at their knee how to work the land. And I'm assuming by what you said, that's also what happened in your family also?
Yeah, yeah.
And what type of crops did you grow?
He grew corn, tomatoes, peas. He had everything, greens, okra, sweet peas, sweet potato, Irish potato, watermelon, and the biggest one was cotton. Cotton was the main form of financial support for the farmers out here. They plant their cotton, and then in August, just before we go back to school, a couple of weeks after school opened, we'd be picking cotton. But cotton was the main thing, because the income from the cotton is what would carry him through to the next year. He'd be able to pay off most of his bills from the cotton that he grew, that we'd pick. Even when we get out of school, we had to go over there and pick cotton.
So these are families who are truly connected to the land,
yes,
and to the water, because I noticed in the maps there's a lot of water there. What is that? The Wando River that is coming through the Phillips community? Am I correct on saying that's the Wando River?
Hallback Creek.
Okay, all right, Hallback Creek. All right, very good. So all of these families are strongly connected to the land for generations, and you found sustenance from the land, but you also not only ate what you grew, but you grew to pay your bills, to educate your children, to move the next generation forward, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Hey, let me interject one thing with Reverend Small.
Yes.
There was two female head of household, and his grandmother was one of them, Sarah Wiseman, and it was Betty Bailey that initially bought property in the community.
And my
that was big by itself, two females.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So we had some strong women, forward-thinking women doing their thing. All right, back in the day. All right, now girl power. So Miss Hilda, tell us your story with the Phillips community, and I guess your story is your family story, because everybody's related. Can you hear us, Miss Hilda?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
go ahead. We're listening. All right.
Okay. Well, also, just like Elijah said, that's like my first cousin, and like he said, he did the plowing, and we had to help, pick peanut, pecans, all these things that they, our granddad would take to the market, and while he's plowing, we still had to like drop the, like if we have corn, we'd have to drop the corn and like the rows to help along with keeping the, while he's digging each row, we would drop whatever we need to feed. If it was okra, we would drop the okra seed. If it was corn, we would have to drop the corn seed, just whatever it was, peanut, and the bank sweet potatoes, things like that we would have, do. And that was a part of, along with Elijah, we were the first cousin, and we have the same grandfather, I should say.
All right, very good. So that makes you like first cousin removed, I think, something like that, right? So y'all close kin. All right, very good. That's good. So you talked about the land and the sustenance from the land. What happened in the Phillips community for fun? What did you guys do for fun in the Phillips community? And Richard and Jonathan, I'll start with you. What did you do for fun? Well, wait, look, I see that Jonathan's. Wait, now, I want to know. I want to know. Jonathan.
Well, like you say, Hallback Creek, they had an old bridge that we swam in. That was our pool. Yeah. Everybody learned how to swim in the Hallback Creek.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Yeah, next thing was baseball. Yeah. All the community around here had a baseball team. It was on the weekend. It was bragging rights to go back to school on Monday and who played who.
All right, very good.
So basketball court. that homemade basketball court that you played on the dirt.
And then the good thing was that you could go anywhere in the community because everybody was basically like family. You know, your parents didn't worry about where you were at because they basically knew wherever you were at, you had to behave yourself, you know, because they, you know, that's how the system was. So it was just like the whole community was your playground.
Very good. I understand. So, when you say you played baseball in different communities, were those communities outside of Phillips community, or were there smaller communities within Phillips community that played the baseball?
Outside.
Like
Outside.
You have the 10-mile community, the 7 miles, Snowden, Remnants Point, Canoy, you know, Old Joe, and sometimes we travel a little bit. So that was the first time we really had organized, sports. Yeah, you know, doing that baseball.
Okay, very good. So swimming in the creek, baseball, basketball. So what about those alligators in the creek?
We never had alligators. We never saw them.
Really?
Alligators were never a thing during that time.
All right, very good. So Jonathan, what were you known for in the community? Because first of all, everybody has a nickname. What's your nickname?
Gator.
So tell us about Gator. How
my
did
uncle
you get
called me that because the thing was that, you know, you were never supposed to go to the creek, but that's where we were at all the time. And, you know, the water was real salty back then. So, you know, when you would go back home, you'd been in the water so long, you'd be just white. But then when your grandparents would say, where you been? We were like, we weren't at the creek, but I mean, all the evidence was there that you were at the creek. So, you know, that was the thing.
That was the thing. So yeah, okay. So Gator, what were you known for? What's your claim to fame?
Well, I guess now I'm like the barbecue fella.
Really?
That's my deal. Yeah.
All right, very good. So you're known for your barbecue.
Well, you know, and then again, everybody else takes part, you know, and basically because we were all farmers, that's basically what everyone did. You know, for my grandfather, I was the oldest male grandson, so it was my job when he went to work. He'll tell you what field to go in. You know,
okay.
So basically, we all did the same things, but the playing was the centralized things that brought us together. But basically, farming was where we ate, where we fed our families in Charleston. Because Fred, Elijah's brother, you know, he made the statement one time that we didn't know we were poor until we went into the military. You know, because
isn't that the truth?
We always ate good. We always had things. People shared, and my grandmother was one of the older ladies, so they would take us as young kids, and they would take care of the older ladies that were widows, or you know, if someone was sick, they used us to go get water and get wood. So it was like every day was just something to do because we were all one as a community.
And that's a beautiful thing. And that's a trait in our Gullah Geechee communities, that we all collaborated and worked together. And I've heard so many of my elders also say the same thing. We didn't know we were poor.
Yeah.
Because you walk out your door and you had your abundance. Your abundance was in the field. Your abundance was in the water. So you didn't know you were poor until you got exposed to something else to know that. So Richard, Jonathan has told us his nickname. I know you had a nickname too. What's your nickname, Richard?
They call me Don.
Say that again.
Don.
And why?
Yeah, because my aunt gave me that name.
Okay.
I look like a little Donnie. So she called me. My mom wasn't the older sister. The third sister started calling me Dawn, and that stuck.
And it stuck. Very good. Very good. Well, nice to meet you, Don. but you know, we get grown and we said we got to call ourselves Richard and Jonathan and Marilyn. My oldest brother, his nickname is Buster, but he lives in Arizona now. When I go visit him, everybody knows him as Peter. And I had to get used to that because I could say Buster in a minute. He was named after the Buster stove in England because just like many of you, my dad went into the military and my oldest brother was born in England and they had the Buster stove. And my mother, when he was a baby, she placed him between the stove and the counter, wherever she would keep him warm. and she just picked up the name Buster for him, and that's his nickname, Buster. And but now we go to his business. He's Peter. But so
He's fancy now.
yeah, we fancy now. We fancy. So Reverend and Mrs. Smalls. First of all, Reverend, what is your nickname? I know you got one too.
I'm called Bubba.
Bubba?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, is there a particular reason you're called Bubba?
Because he's the oldest. all the oldest
Bubba is because he's the oldest. Hey, that's it. That works. That's it. All right. Very good. And does Mrs. Smalls have a nickname, or is she just Mrs. Smalls?
I have a nickname. which I don't like. They used to call me Needy, but sometimes people call me Nita for short.
Nita. Okay, very good. Very good. So everybody has a nickname, and I wanted to point that out because in our Gullah Geechee community, we have nicknames, and some people, I found out their real name at the funeral.
After they die, right?
Yeah, after they die. You can almost go to any of our communities, and somebody has a nickname, and they're like, "Well, I didn't know that his name."
Right about that. I had an uncle like that when he died, when I was in the obituary, wow, I didn't know his name was William. He was Ben, Uncle Ben. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't know what his name was. That's right. That's the truth now. Miss Hilda, we still talking about nicknames. Do you have a nickname? Miss Hilda?
H.
H?
It's just H.
All right now. All right. That's right. So
my
everybody
brother
has
gave
a
me
name.
that name, H. That's just short for Hilda.
Very good. And usually it's a family member who gives you your nickname. And I just wanted to show so much what we have in common in our communities. So, Miss Hilda, while we are speaking to you, what did you do for fun growing up in the Phillips community?
I can't hear it.
Oh, my question was, what did you do for fun growing up in the Phillips community?
I guess she's having problems here.
Yeah.
Well, you talking to me? I didn't hear. I went
Yes,
out
ma'am.
for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear.
Yeah. We're talking to you.
Yeah, I have problem hearing.
Okay, we were trying to find out, what did you do for fun growing up?
I'll go visit, like, well,
Go
we would
to
go
each other's house?
go to each other's house, and we would play like hopscotch. Yeah, go to like your little friend's house and play hopscotch, jump rope, and things like that. That's
very good.
What we would do.
Very good. And those are the things that we all had in common, just playing, growing up together. Hopscotch, jump rope, double scotch. What's the double?
Dutch.
Double Dutch. Thank you. Double Dutch. Woo, it's been a while. Woo, yeah. So very good. We all enjoyed those. So yeah, very good. Thank you, Miss Hilda. So Richard, back to you. Tell us about the community as a whole. What should we know about the Phillips community? And everyone else, just feel free to add in. But what should we know? What makes the Phillips community special?
You got the people that's here today are descendants of those original property owners. You got the great-grandkids. They're like, I got some grandkids and grandniece. They are 6th and 7th generation of the Phillips community. And basically, everybody knows everybody. You don't have to worry about the crime. You don't have to worry about, like, I live on Ben and Charles. My mom used to live on Habersham Road. Put my kids on the bicycle, they ride up there. There was no big deal. I didn't have to worry about somebody bothering my daughters or anything like that. And that's the same thing in the Phillips community now. The Phillips community as a whole is the playground of all the kids in the community. It's not like, it's like down the street in Rivertown. You always hear sirens going on and stuff. Very seldom you hear that in this community. And the people want to be here. They want to be here. They don't worry about if they're probably worth $500,000 or $10, because the value is not in the property. The value is in the community, the quality of life. And the relationships
in the community.
Right, yes.
Yeah, and many of you, it seems that you are related, which is a wonderful thing. And you've built these connections over generations, and they're deeply embedded in the community. So let me do a quick station break, and then I'm going to get to why we are here today. And I want to remind everyone that you are watching A Gathering Place, brought to you by the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, and each Wednesday and Sunday at 4 p.m. Join us live at A Gathering Place. If you have any questions for our special guest today from the Phillips community, please drop them in our comment section and we will get to them. So we have our special guest from the Phillips community, and thank you as we get back to them. So why are we here today? I've been hearing about it in the news that the Charleston County Council is debating that they want to expand the Highway 41 into 5 lanes right through the middle of the community. So as you talk, Richard, and everybody else, just chime in, or Richard, if Reverend Smalls has something to add to, please feel free. But Richard, can you tell us what's going on? And as you speak, I'm going to throw up a couple of pictures. So what's the challenge?
The challenge is back in 2000 when they did the comprehensive plan. There was a long-term plan to make the 541 a 4-lane road. At that time, we told everybody to no, that would kill our community. That wouldn't work for us. We came up with a plan that would partially make 41 4-lane, but when it comes to our community, it would be 3 lanes. And the reason why we wanted 3 lanes, it'll give us a chance to get in and out of our driveways. Yeah, you make the left turn. But the 4-lane, what that would do, 2 things it would do. We wouldn't be able to make a left turn out of your driveway, and it'll kill the community. If you notice that on Highway 17 with Town Center, that could be a community. That could be a community, a viable. That could be the 4-mile community. Right. You don't see no homes over there. Clemens Ferry Road, down there, going toward 526. Part of that used to be the Yellow House community and the ferry. When they built 526, it killed the community. 10 Mile and Orndorff, when 17 came through, it partially killing that. It's still there, but it's steadily dying off. And that's what we said. We didn't want that because we don't want our community to die, and we want a quality of life. And there was 2 options they had. One was 1A that ran 5 lanes through our community. Well, this one, that's 5. Yeah, 5.
Okay, that's one right there. I did one.
That's one. That would run 5 lanes straight through our community. We said, no, we didn't want that. Now, 7A, which is the other one, it'll run the highway around our community, but we'll still get the 3 lane, so it'll give the community a better quality of life.
And this is a historic community that can be traced back to the plantations, where most of these families have a connection to the plantation, and they received that land for historical reasons. And you've built a close-knit type community. And you are correct in saying so many communities have died because they've built highways right through these communities. So it seems as if we have an opportunity to do better by the community, because we've learned from the bad stuff that has happened. Now we have an opportunity to say, let's do this the right way, the best way for the historic community. And I think, so alternative 7A is the one we're looking at right now. And it seems like the bulk of the traffic will be taken around the Phillips community.
Correct. And let me tell you something too. The bulk of the traffic comes from those communities right there on the Park West, Dunes West, Rivertown. That was the traffic come from. And also that diagram there, that was the initial road, because all around it was plantation, and the road never came through Phillip until the 40s, until they straightened the highway. But that was the initial road right there, road system.
Okay, okay. And this is actually a very good picture that really gives you the details of seeing where the growth has been and where the original road is, and then what we would say was the best alternative for the Phillips community. So this Dunes West and Park West communities, these are relatively new communities. These are the come here's.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Phillips is the been
Right.
here community. And if you're not Gala, you need a been here mean you've been here for generations. Come here mean you just came down because you
Recently.
retired or you came to visit and decided I'm going to come back and live here. So this could be a huge impact on this been here community, this historic community. And we've got to and this is the one that would be the worst alternative. Is this the alternative one that the county council is pushing?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what their engineering staff says is the best alternative.
Now, how did they get to this point with this alternative that obviously someone had to know that this was going straight through the heart of the Phillips community? How did it get to this point?
Because
Do you-
it best
Go ahead.
serves the people that are in the other communities, and they don't want any of the traffic coming through their community. So they see us as basically we're not a community. I think it's been said that we're just a couple of trailers, or or the houses are not that expensive, but there again, it's home, and they don't look at it like that. So they want us to continue that we be the one that sacrifice all the time. Because when Highway 41 first came through the community, it divided the property throughout the community. And I think what we don't want to let go on the side is that in 1878, 76, around that time frame, our ancestors bought the property. You're talking about former slaves less than 20 years outside of slavery where they actually bought the property. The property wasn't given to them, because we have some of the old deeds that show where there was like 10 acres bought for $100. So they weren't given the property, which everyone keeps telling us. They keep saying, well, your ancestors were given the property. No. They bought the property. So it's not that we're asking for anything. We're just asking what other taxpayers, are asking. We want our voice to be heard. And, but basically the other communities would prefer us to sacrifice continually over and over and over and over.
Right.
And if we go back, if we're only fourth generations from slavery, that's not a long time. You see, people think that slavery has been like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but an average generation is 35 years. So you see, that's not forever. And so we still have to deal with that, to where people look at you as less than people, but we don't come that angle. We try to see everybody as people, but the only thing that we're saying is that there are other ways where you can bring the highway through and not destroy the community. And that's all we're looking for.
That's very true. And I can agree with you on that. And when I started the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, I knew advocacy would be a strong piece of this chamber. We're not a regular chamber of commerce. We are an activist chamber of commerce, because I understand in my community, the Gullah Geechee community, is that we need to have these type of conversations that we are having. Because all too often what happens is they want to downplay who we are for their convenience, downplay our communities, which have strong, wonderful ties and history, and that things that people love, and they want to downplay them because they want to put up a $300,000, $400,000 house and stay here maybe 20 years when we are embedded in the community.
Exactly.
No,
Can I show you another thing?
Right.
See, that's the key right there. What they're interested in getting is what we have. For the longest, where we are, this was to be the place for those people in Rivertown, Dune West to come and dine and do whatever they're going to do and not have far to drive home. We were able to fight them with the commercial stuff. So now there are other things coming in. And if it goes through, But if the highway is widened, it'd be right at our doorstep. And a lot of the people, how would you be able to exist with in a condition like that? The highway right up to your door.
Yeah, it's not safe.
No.
It won't be safe.
Right.
And it'll slowly shrink your world.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And we don't want that to happen no more. It's time for us to stand up. And I'm glad that you came on this show because I've been hearing about it. I know you guys are fighting it at County Council. And I wanted to be a part of that. The Gullah Geechee Chamber, we want to be a part of that to uplift the voices of all our communities. So kudos to you, Phillips Community Association, for telling your story and for sharing it because we are here.
Okay.
We are here. We've always been here. Yes.
Let me show you another thing about what that road would do. You know, like right now, most of the people we own our property, right? I said we making those $50,000, $100,000, but we own our property that we live at. Just like with that road 4 lane, and you got people that got heirs property, and they lose that property. They say they're gonna compensate them with that. So we got I know one property owner is 150 people tied into the property. So now they would give them fair market value at that time. They get $3,000 or $4,000. What they gonna do with that? Right. So now they take that money and got to move someplace else. They own now. Now they got to rent or buy again.
Right.
That's right.
So now you have a quality of life that you barely making it. Now, you know, maybe that little job that you got now, you can survive on because you own where you live at. But if you got to buy, you got to get 2 jobs just to make it. Yeah. So now, you done take away that economic, threshold in that household, and quality of life. So you throw them back into poverty.
Right. And we know that being able to transfer property is a way of accumulating wealth.
Yes, it is.
And that's how some of us are where we're at because, we didn't always have the best homes or whatever, but it was ours. And being able to not have to pay a mortgage, that was an advantage. So you can work a little job for a couple of dollars until you can do better. And that was the thing. And, so for us as a way of life, it's not where we can get some equity out of the property. Right. It's where we can leave this to our children and our children's children. And that's a way of transferring wealth. And if you don't have that, then it starts to struggle back all over again. And we're aware of that.
Yeah.
And so you have some young people that really don't understand that, but that's why it's for us to be in the forefront and fight for this the same way the older people fought, in order to have what we have today. Because who can imagine, less than 20 years outside of slavery, you would have the wherewithal to have $100 or $300-$400 that you can purchase property. I mean, it's almost unthinkable, but they did it, and they like Reverend Small was talking about earlier. Farming was one of the way that you got the money to pay your taxes at the end of the year, the way you got to buy school clothes and things like that. So we grew up working, we grew up sacrificing, and so at this point we're saying we're on the right side of this. So we're not looking for anything else other than what everybody else is looking for. They're looking to be able to maintain and keep their homes, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and also there's a development coming in the middle of our community. These houses starts at $500,000. Look at that. It starts at $500,000. So if they take the property along 41 and give them $50,000. Where are they going at with $50,000?
Yep.
What could you really do with $50,000? And the house starts at $500,000.
And that's why it also kills the culture. This is about culture. And when people are forced to leave, you'll never have that connection again. Right. You'll never have that culture of Phillips community again. You cannot replicate that. And you are right. People don't think about that. You have these houses, $500,000. You get $5,000. You're going to be forced to go to Williamsburg County. Now you got a situation of you lost a culture, but you got to also think about practical things about transportation. How you going to get to work?
Right.
What
work is there to get in Williamsburg County?
There you go. Now you talking. Now you talking. Miss Hilda, I want you to be part of this conversation. Miss Hilda, can you hear me?
Right. Yes, I can
You
hear
were
you.
saying,
And not
you were
only,
talking about quality of life.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
heard,
Go ahead.
yeah. And also, like I said, we own our land and our home. We don't, we don't have like a $12 or $1,300 mortgage every month. Because, most of us, we have people in the community that is retired. They couldn't afford that kind of, to live in a, like they say, a $300,000 or $400,000 home. You can't afford it. But most of us, we own our land and our home.
Right.
And Jonathan said, it doesn't matter how it looks. We own it. And if you own land, you consider to be rich now.
Right.
That's
Because
right.
our land worth,
And
a whole lot more. It is, that's a wealth.
Yes,
And
it is. Yes, it is.
may
And
I say
is that
something?
Mrs. Smalls? Go ahead.
Yes, I want to say something. God is not making any more land, so we better keep what we have.
There you
That's very true. And that's why the value goes up. And you hold on to it. I just lost my father last month, and I am in the family home. Now, my brothers are off, but we had a discussion. And my mother, before she passed 13 years ago, she and I would talk, and she would say, we could use this house as a vacation home. If they're off, they could come in, and you're close to the beach. We're 10 minutes from the beach. We're an hour from Charleston. You go to Myrtle Beach, you go shopping or whatever. This land value is going to increase. And it's something, if you got to borrow a little change against it, you make arrangements with your family members and you pay them back or something. But it allows you to create generational wealth.
Right. And also, you don't generate wealth. The wealth is in the property way. This man, if we go off, like we all went off, we came back home. But you had a place to come back to. We didn't have to, really struggle from nothing to make something.
Right.
It was something that our foreparents left. So okay, well, you got your start in life. Now what you do with it is up to you. But
That's
there's
right.
a little start there. That means a big difference. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. This is a conversation we must have, not only for the Phillips community. The conversation is for the Phillips community right now. But we need to have these conversations for all of our communities within the Gallagher community.
Right.
And I'm so thankful that all of you decided to come on to the show today and to share your story. So we're going to get into what we can do to help you. Before we do, because this conversation is so good, it is already 4:45. So I want to do another station break. You are watching A Gathering Place, hosted by the Gallagher Chamber of Commerce. We are having a much needed discussion about the historic Phillips community and the challenge it is facing, brought about by the Charleston County Council. They want to widen Highway 41 right through the historic Phillips community and really basically destroy a beautiful way of life, a quality life, a life where people own their land, and that's key. So what I want to know from this group, what is it that we can do?
Okay, if you go,
what is
if
it we can do to help
you? If you go
you?
to the county website, and you'll be able to see the email address and telephone numbers for each of the county council members, and you can go on. I can't say. You can go on and send and give your comment, or call them and give your comment. Even if you don't live in the area, you can say that you support us, from the Phillips community. And that in itself would keep it to the forefront to let them know that there are people that's interested, and we're not keeping this in a bubble.
So what is that the highway41sc.com website?
Yes. And I'll tell you, the councilman we need to target. Call Elliot Summey, Herb Sass, Vic Rawls, who else? Brian Moody, and Jenny Honeycutt. That's the one that you really need to target when you call. If you call them, they
or email them.
Or email them. Though you can go on the website and you can pull them up. on Charleston County. But let me say it again, called Elliot Summey, Herb Sass, Vic Rawls, Brian Moody, and Jenny Honeycutt.
All right, I think I got the names. So you said
Yes.
call Elliot Summey, Vic Rawls, Jamie Honeycutt, Herb Sass, and Brian Moody.
Yes.
All right.
That's who we're targeting on this.
All right, very good. Hold on one second while I have that up there, and I'm going to put the website up also. There you go. And the website is www.highway41sc.com. That's HWY41sc.com, and it really gives you the details about what's going on. Y'all, the Phillips community, we got to stand up for our people.
Yes.
We got to stand up for each other.
Yeah. Also, like right now, we targeting the county council, like when Tuesday when that Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. I think the 5th. I think that's the 5th. We are going to Charleston County and speak up. We're not on the agenda, but go and let your voice be known that we don't want option 1. And I think again on the 22nd, I haven't got the date wrong, but it's 2 different council meetings.
First and the third Tuesday.
Yeah, we go to the council and let them know that we don't want option 1. We want option 7, or even go back to the drawing board where they can find a better route. Yeah.
Dawn is the 6th of October and 6 and at 6 o'clock at 6:30 County Council, Lonnie Hamilton Building. That's where we're supposed to meet.
Correct.
Yeah, the 6th, which is Tuesday.
Right.
So the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays, go to county council meeting and raise your voice in support of the Phillips community. And we either want Route 7A or they need to go back to the drawing board and get a better route, period.
Correct.
All right, folks. So the charge has been given, folks. My viewing audience, you know I like to call to action. Y'all call the county council members. Y'all go to the county council meetings on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays. And this Tuesday, it is October 6th. Go to the meeting and talk to those county council members and tell them they got to go back to the drawing board or Route 7, Alternative 7A, which is the better one for this community. Y'all, this is a community. It has its culture. It has its voice. We've heard their stories, and we can all relate to them. We can relate to the history of it with the watermelon and the sweet potatoes and the yams and the okra that we grew for sustenance. That goes all the way back to West Africa. And we are the descendants, proud descendants of enslaved Africans and African Americans who made a way out of no way. And the proof is in the pudding because these descendants inherited the land from ancestors who had the wherewithal to save some money and buy the land. And that's key for us to understand, folks, because they want to tell us all the time, y'all don't own nothing.
Right.
We
Exactly.
gave it to you. Ain't nobody gave us nothing. We
That's
work for this. Work for this. And that's why it's so important that we know our history and understand. Even when our ancestors were in the field and had a dream, the dream wasn't necessarily their dream. The dream was for their descendants.
Right, yes.
To have the right to do what we're doing here today is speak up and hold on to that land so we can send it on to our folks.
Can I
The
tell you a
folks that
story?
we'll never see. But
I
they're
got
going
a
to
story
hold on to
for you.
that land. Please do.
When we
Gator
first-
got a story. Gator got a story.
When we first started all of this, we
Yes.
found a lady gave us an old map, and the properties were cut off in 10-acre lots, and there was a road in the middle. So we basically just thought that was Emancipation Proclamation. Somebody gave you 10 acres. And so I had to go back to the county building. I was looking for something, and this lady came and gave me a bunch of maps. And she says, here, you can use this. Because I spoke to her before. We came back, we were looking through all the maps, and then she gave me some other paperwork, and they were actual deeds. And on one of the maps, it said, property sold to Negroes. And then we looked and we found the deed, and we could see some of our ancestors where they paid $100 for 10 acres. And so we had a meeting with this gentleman from one of the agencies, and he made a statement. He says, like, what do you fellas want? It was like, y'all were given the property, you know? And the first time when we heard that, we were like, yeah, because we didn't know any better. Then after we found out that our ancestors purchased the property, they came back and said that again, and we were like, no, man, we got document. They bought the property, so we weren't given anything. And I mean, that made a difference. It was almost like, we were like 20 feet tall because no, you didn't give us anything. Our people work, and this is what they gave to us, and so that in itself made a big difference. And so that's why our fight is now, if we lose, we're fighting till the end.
Very good. And I'm glad to hear you say that. And Jonathan, I am so glad that you told this story.
Right.
Not only for everyone, but in particular our young people. You have to understand this is why education is so important.
Yes.
Because when you can read and write, you could go do research. That's basically what Jonathan just said. They did the research.
Yes.
And went and got the paperwork to prove ownership. Because too many times we go in there and don't do the research, and they take advantage of us. And we get bamboozled and we lose our land. When if we had done the research or get hooked up with someone who has already been through something, so they can share their story with you, and then if this comes up in your community, go do the research. Go do the research. Because it's a chess game, and you got to play the game better. You got to learn the game and play it better. And we got, we got to be real on these type of shows. This is one reason I have this show, just so we can be real and talk, because we got to help each other. So imagine if you had not gone and looked up that information. We wouldn't be having this conversation today.
No, because we were defeated. We thought, we were like, yeah, okay, he's right. We were given the property. But once we found out different, we were like new people. We were like, no, we ain't settling for this, because our people work. And then the mystery is where they get that kind of money from. Like Reverend Smalls' great grandfather, like he said, he bought 35 acres. So where did he get that money from like that and doing it? I mean, that would be almost like $1 million a day. So in itself, that should be history. That should be why.
Yes.
Right.
It was normal. You see, and I think that's what the young people, they don't see that. They don't see that, we weren't just given stuff. We were people that fought for everything we had. When we were little boys, we had to go, in the summertime, we used to have to go work on the farm. And when I came back home, I had to give my grandmother my money. She would give you a couple of dollars to do whatever with. And then when it came time to go back to school, she gave you your own money back, and that's where you went and bought your own school clothes. So nothing was given. And that's why we say we're going to fight till the end, because all we're looking for is the same thing that other taxpayers, they get the right to say, no, you're not coming through our community. And so that's what we're fighting for. We want to say no.
And another part of that too, it's like with that road at 7A, we didn't know that the road didn't originally come to Phillip. It did that in the 40s when they said they straightened Highway 41. Well, it really was Highway 6 and changed to Highway 41.
Right.
So now, like I said, doing the research, they found out that was the original path of the road. The plantation owners didn't want the road to come through their property, because it was Gregory Ferry Road that came down, went around Phillip, and then came up. Yeah, well, but it came around and went back to the Wando River. And they was fighting that issue back in the 30s and 40s, because they didn't want that to come through their property. That's how Phillip got stuck with 41.
Got you. And now they're trying to expand it even further in the community.
Correct.
So let me tell you what I've learned, because in Georgetown, we're the epicenter of rice. And rice was a task system. You were assigned a task to do from sun up to sundown. And if you finished that task, sometimes the plantation owner would rent you out to other plantations. And what ended up happening, the enslaved started accumulating a little money, not a lot, because whatever the owner rented for, they got the bulk of the money, but they held a little bit back. And in Georgetown, one example is Bethel AME Church. After the Civil War, the members of Bethel AME Church were able to pool together $250, and that's what they used to purchase the wood, float the logs down to Winyah Bay, carried it on their shoulders to the location of Bethel AME, and they built Bethel AME Church. So when people ask where did they get a little money from, the root started there. That some of these enslaved were able to get a little money. All right. I'm not saying that has nothing to do with the horrendousness of slavery.
Right.
Slavery is bad.
Right. Correct.
But it speaks to the strength of our ancestors, of what they were able to do to plant the seed in the most horrendous conditions possible. And that's passed down. That knowledge, whether we realize it or not, is passed down. And some of us here in Georgetown were able to get a little land, the same thing, get some land, and then put our houses on that land and stuff. So, and some of us, it was given the land. We were given land. But let's be honest, some of us were given land because we related to the owner family. They were given land to their family.
Right.
So even if you were given land, if you've paid taxes on that land for years, you own that land.
Correct.
You own that land. So that's trickery. When people talk about, well, you were given that land. Well, we supposed to just give it up because it was a gift?
Exactly.
Yeah. We paid the price. Our ancestors paid the price in sweat and blood.
Well, I'll show you another instance too. It's like during the Civil War. You know, you have a number of people in the area fought in that Civil War that for freedom. And that was another thing we really didn't know until there's a graveyard in Rivertown where they got there's one gentleman that's buried there, Benjamin Bennett from the 128th Colored Infantry, South Carolina Colored Infantry, and we also found out it was another gentleman, a former pastor in our church. Her grandfather, Samuel Scott, was in that same unit. So all that ties in. Black folks, even though, like you say, slavery was a hardship, but it made a better situation out of hardship.
That's right. That's right. And that's our legacy. That's our gift. And Miss Hilda's moving, and I was about to ask her a question. Miss Hilda, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, because we have about 4 minutes left, and I want everybody to have a chance to say. Yeah, Miss Hilda, do you have anything to add as we wrap up the show?
You could hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
She wants to know if you have anything to say.
No more than, a great place to live. Really a close. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
You hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the last thing, that's Philip is a real close knit community. We all get along well, and like I said, it's a real good place to live. And and some people move here and they don't want to ever move out. And it's no crime or anything. So it's a great place to live.
Wonderful, Miss Hilda. And I understand that and appreciate it. And we're going to do all that we can to keep it a great place to live. So thank you, Miss Hilda, for sharing that with us. Richard and Jonathan, we'll have both of you speak. But Jonathan, you want to add your words also?
Well, we thank you for what you're doing, because in the whole, we can do a great thing. But I just want to say that we're coming from the point that we think that we're in the right. Because if we were a 150-year-old oak tree, they would find a way to go around. But they look at us as being insignificant. We've sacrificed, from all the original property owners, over 90% of individuals have served in the United States military. So we've sacrificed. Highway 41 is named after Major General Abraham Turner that lives in the area. So we've sacrificed. And the only thing I can say, we thank everybody for doing anything that they can do. But because we think that we're on the right side of this, we're going to fight till the end. And we thank you for your support and all that you've done.
Oh, you're welcome. And anytime y'all want to come back and keep us up to date, please let us know. Richard, I'm going to let you have the last word, but I want Reverend and Mrs. Smalls to add their words also. What do you want to leave us with, Reverend and Mrs. Smalls?
Well, the important thing for us is that we're all being threatened every day. Every day. We have issues going on. And I just want to encourage the Phillips community to remain steadfast with God. He is the one keeping us. We must continue to keep him in it. We thank you for all you're doing and all those who are willing to help. We thank you.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Reverend Smalls. And that's actually a beautiful way to end it. We thank you, and you are welcome. I'm glad that I can do the little bit that I can do to help get the word out. And everyone, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, go to www.highway41sc.com and learn more about what's going on, and get in touch with those county council members and let them know that we want the Phillips community, the historic Phillips community, to stay intact. And that means we need to either go back to the table and get a better route or go to alternative 7A. Richard, I want you to have the last word. What is it that you want to leave us with?
That Phillips is a community that's been here, and that we want this to have our chance to exist. We want our family to stay here. We want our kids to grow up. Now, getting back to where our grandparents passed something down for us, and the knowledge about Philip. That's what we want to do. We want everybody to know. It's like a lot of people told me, so I'm the historian, but Reverend Small's uncle, Reverend Palmer, Nathaniel Rouse, I used to talk to these old people, and they let me know a lot of things with Philip that I didn't know. I grew up in Philip, but I didn't, and that's what we want to pass down to everybody else. We are not just a bunch of old trailers side the road. We're history. We and we deserve a quality of life like everybody else. That's it.
Yes, we do. Thank you. Thank you, Richard, for those words. And I am so glad that you have sat down with our elders and gotten that information. I do want to encourage you, and I'm sure you probably have, at any opportunity to record them or to write down the stories so that we can pass that on. Because one thing I have learned in life is every time we lose an elder, we lose a library.
Yes, yes.
And we'll never get it back. So y'all, this is serious. This is real, that we want to keep our communities intact. Phillips, unfortunately, is another one in a long line, but it can stop here. If y'all want to start a revolution, save these communities. There's a change going on in society, but if you want something intact in the land, Phillips community needs your help. They need your help right now. So if you are in Charleston County, we need you to go to highway41sc.com. If you're not in Charleston County, still call them. Because if we Gullah Geechee, we African American, we Black, we been his, this is us, y'all. Because if Phillips community hurts, Georgetown hurts. If Georgetown hurts, Beaufort hurts. We got to stop it. Y'all want to start a revolution? Start it here at home. This is home for everybody. This is home for these folks that are on the show today. And revolutions start at home. And this is our chance, y'all. So we asking you, if you are watching us now on a gathering place, go to highway41sc.com, get educated, and then go to these county council meetings on the 1st and 3rd of every month. The next one is this Tuesday, October 6th, and let those county council members know that we are here in support of the Phillips community, and Highway 41 does not need to be expanded. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Richard, Jonathan, Reverend and Mrs. Smalls, and Miss Hilda. Thank you. I so love having you on with us today. And if y'all need to come back, y'all just reach out to me we'll get you on and keep us up to date, all right? And I'll be seeing y'all. I'm going to try to make it down there too. All right, then.
All right,
Enjoy
bye.
the rest of your weekend. We'll see you later.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
All right, bye-bye. And I want to remind everyone that you are watching A Gathering Place. And coming this Wednesday at 4 o'clock, I will be joined by Jim Felder, longtime political consultant, founder of the South Carolina Voter Education Project, and now the lead advocate with the Gullah Geechee Leadership Institute. He'll be joining me this Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and we're going to be talking some policies and issues that impact the Gullah community. So y'all come on back here right now to Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We'll see you, and thank you everyone once again from the Phillips Community Association for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Goodbye.